name's Kari Bigham. I'm a teaching assistant professor at Kansas State University. I have gotten all my degrees at Kansas State. I come from a four-generation farm. My dad, as well as all the way down to my great-grandpa. My brother's now taken over the farm. My husband's also a farmer. We live just outside of Grantville, and he's starting to dabble in the regenerative agriculture type stuff. So it's been interesting. I don't call myself a farmer, but I've observed farming my entire life. So it's been interesting kind of learning how soil health really can improve your farming operation. But my interest is in studying rivers. And so when I was asked to present at this conference, I was a little bit, I've never presented at this type of conference, and not that there isn't a soil health connection, but it did take a little bit of creativity and some pondering for me to figure out how I could connect it all. And it was very easy when I actually kind of sat and thought through it. The experience has actually helped kind of open my eyes to a niche potentially in terms of how we can look at these agricultural watersheds as a system, and how that might benefit water quality and quantity downstream as well. So, but yeah, I've been studying rivers, and so that's mostly the rivers I've been working in is in agricultural landscapes. That's what I'm most passionate about. I feel that many scientists in my field, they gravitate towards those Rocky Mountain clear water streams because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to work, and the streams I work in aren't necessarily in that great of shape. It's not uncommon for me to be wading in a river and getting stuck in mud. So yeah, there's plenty of work to be done. I'm learning every single day with my research, and it's exciting too to try to combine it with farming practices as well. My experience with farming is just being around a farm, on a farm my entire life. For 33 years now, I have been on a farm, and I have seen different ways to go about operating farms. And like I said, my husband is getting more and more using regenerative agriculture type practices. But my advice when it comes to streams, so if I connect it back to my expertise in rivers, and this is what I really hit on in my presentation, it's all about land cover. When it comes to reducing erosion and allowing for infiltration to increase, because infiltration is what matters when it comes to runoff. So our rivers will size themselves based on how much water and sediment goes down to that stream. And so if we can cover the land with some sort of vegetation, not necessarily parking lots, that's not ideal. We're talking about vegetation. It doesn't matter if it's cover crops or even just a crop, but if we don't have a crop there in that field during the periods where it's not the growing period, in the winter months, and we have a rainfall event, that's when we're going to see those big flood and erosional events that's going to bring all this water and sediment to the streams, and that causes impact downstream. And so from my understanding and my research, it's all about trying to manage the watershed so that it has cumulative effects downstream. So we got to cover the land as best as we can. I know not every watershed that's an option, and in those semi-arid western Kansas, you might not get the precipitation to have full vegetative cover. But in those eastern part of Kansas, or the eastern part where we actually get rainfall here in the United States, having some form of cover is really going to provide benefits downstream. When I do present about rivers, there's always somebody who has a river problem. They want to know the solution, and I try. Most of the time when I get to talking about my favorite topic, which is river restoration, it's just, I have this problem here on my riverbank, how do I fix it? And then also it's interesting too, it's more of, they corner me to tell me their observations. So a lot of these farmers, they're observant. We talked about that in the panel too. But they're very observant of their landscape, not only on the farm, but of the streams. If they're next to streams, they pay attention to how that stream works too. And so, a lot of my best research questions that I've had have come from landowners because they have, and especially the older they get, the better, because they've had several decades of watching the same river in the same place. I have some of that experience too, but mine is this big compared to some of those older landowners. And so I can start comparing it to what I've observed, what the research says, and then help that fine-tune how we go about restoring streams and agricultural landscapes. So I actually kind of appreciate those talks too, because every stream is different, and so we got to be aware of that, and again, mimicking nature in that location is extremely important. The people that are here are supposed to be here, and what they're going to do is carry that information back home. And as we talked about, it's really important in the world of farming, or really just in any field, but for that community. So sharing our experiences with others. And so I'm hopeful that the folks that are here will take some of this knowledge back home. They'll show success, and that other farmers will learn to adopt that and will find themselves here. But I really, that first presentation, it was just neat to listen to him, because he's been doing this science for probably several decades now and is retired, and so he knows a lot, he's studied it, and he can say and what he wants at this point because he's retired. There's no pushback. And so I think just hearing him speak, to me that was inspirational. It kind of gave me a boost as to if I keep at it, eventually I could be, not know what he knows, but I know enough about my topic that if someday I could be just like him in that sense, maybe not so much regen ag, but I just thought it was very interesting. You could tell he's very passionate and is able to really help with the soil health and how that ties into this carbon trading thing that's going on in the future. I thought that was just an interesting talk. My name is Kari Bigham, and I presented from Sky to Stream, the systems approach to water management.